I was navigating the homepage that my computer shows me when I launch the internet, and this is MSN. It's gotta be. I just don't see anything in my search bar. It's just like a bunch of app looking articles. And then one stood out to me: 12 things we need to stop teaching children, or rather, we should stop teaching children. This does come from the MSN.com website. And I'm going to sort of speed read through it and read the enumerations with any highlights and let you know what I think. The first point our author is making is play ends when you reach adulthood. That play ends when you reach adulthood. However, play is important even when we're grown. With so much emphasis on excelling in academic and professional realms, it can be easy to forget how important play is for both our mental and physical well-being. Encourage children to find joy in playing and use it as a source of creativity and development. Yes, I absolutely agree with this, because I personally used to be the kind of kid who I had a lot of playtime because I happened to be good in school. I was able to finish homework and have time to be able to indulge in video games, given that I really didn't have a social life. I wasn't that kind of teen who was craving to be out on Friday nights, or I wasn't into any extracurriculars. So for me, video games was my escape, and it was for a very long time. After my season was over, when I got my job, I thought, okay, playing video games is kind of cool, but I think something changed in me to where video games aren't really a part of my life anymore. And it wasn't until my brother brought his PS4 and I tried some of the games he had that I thought, wow, I cannot believe I was once in my life a very avid gamer. And now I'm wishing that I would have maybe kept practicing so that maybe I could, I don't know, launch a gaming channel. That would be fun. Yes, I do think that as an adult, entertainment is still important. And it wasn't until I hit adulthood that I never understood that. I thought I had to live a life of protocol. Like, okay, if I'm not a kid, I should no longer do things that are associated with being a kid. And games was certainly one of them. And the reason being, I used to associate people who were focused on games of any sort as individuals who had maturity problems. But now I am personally the kind of person who's looking for ways to incorporate fun into my day. And honestly, that's one of the things that motivates me to continue the channel. It's because I genuinely find it like a game. I have to think of a topic, think of how I want to present it, and occasionally I may incorporate certain elements to make it a little more dynamic, such as me reviewing my leggings. It's something I genuinely love. How can I present it, given that my style of content is usually just show my face, talk, and present it, interact with the comments, and that's it. But now I have to think of ways to be able to show the item that I'm describing. So that's been fun, and I'm grateful that it's something that I can do, because if it weren't for the channel, I'm not sure what would be taking its place. I think I would probably increase the intensity of my workouts instead to see if I can become a little stronger. But yes, playtime is important. And another thing that I can, I guess, associate it with is, as an adult, I definitely do not laugh as much as I used to when I was a kid. So you as an adult, when was the last time you had a legit, genuine belly laugh, but one that was provoked outside of the internet? Because I have seen funny shit on the internet that has made me legit laugh as much as the next person. But I'm talking about in person. Let it be at your job, let it be with your family, let it be when you're out. Like, do you actually have as much fun as you used to when you were younger? Think about it. Number 2, you can get what you want if you are nice. Teaching children to be nice to get what they want leaves them manipulative and dishonest. Instead, teach them to handle no. Too many people grow up and get offended at being told no. Teachers and parents want their children to learn how to ask for things politely, but not how to handle rejection. Saying no can be difficult at times, but it's helpful to encourage children to find an alternative solution that doesn't harm or pressure the other person's decision. This is so freaking true because I have met people like that. I get it. You're super nice and warm personality. We should be willing and wanting to help you, but if we say no, just leave it at that. But this nice person sometimes knows that they can be pretty compelling and they use their power and charm to try to get you to do something. And I think that's pretty messed up. At least the individual who I can think of immediately right off my mind isn't the kind that say your relationship sours with this person if you reject an advance that he might make with something. But it just sucks that if I say no, then leave it at that. Don't try to persuade me to indulge in something any other way, especially if it's a favor for you. Just be like, all right, I thought I would ask, or thank you for letting me ask, anything like that. But when somebody says no, just don't try to change their mind. I think that some of the issues that we do see nowadays has to do with that. People want to get things if they're an asshole. People want to get things because they are nice. Like if I don't give things to the asshole, that means that I will give things to the nice person. No, the same way that you don't get something is the same way that the other person is not going to get something. But I think that's somewhere that's getting lost. And I'm glad that they mentioned this because I never considered that maybe some of the people that I find challenging were like this. Do as I say. Kids learn by watching us. Whatever we want kids to do or not do starts with grown-ups addressing our own hang-ups. Full stop. We should be role models for our children and practice what we preach. If we want them to listen to us, they need to see that we are listening to and following through on what we say. And this is so freaking true because that is the way that my mom guided me. She always tried to back up what she was saying with actions. One of the biggest issues that I see in the present day is, you guys remember my topic about authority not being respected? Well, I do think that authority inherently is deserving of respect and you can challenge it, but there are ways and times to do that. And I think that with grown-ups having this rebel attitude of nobody tells me what to do, then if nobody can tell you what to do, how do we ensure that things that need to get done so that society can remain functional get done? Imagine if you showed up to every single shift ever from now on, and you're not the manager of that sector, and everybody collectively decides that you're not going to do what your manager, your leader, your boss, your sergeant, whatever officer in charge title might be. Imagine if we all decided that we weren't going to listen at all to anything they had to say. Where would we be? What would get done? Failure is bad. That failure is something to be ashamed of and avoid at all costs. We all fail sometimes and we need to be able to accept that. Failure is not bad. Instead, it can be used as an opportunity for growth and learning. Encourage them to learn from their mistakes and accept them. This is super true. This I didn't embrace until I left school and became an adult, and I was always under the impression that making bad grades is just bad, but I didn't really understand why. And honestly, I would bring good grades because I was more scared of my mom's reaction more than anything. But now it turns out that when I started bringing B's home that were related to math, she was like, you know what? I'm not mad that you're making B's in math because me personally, I used to make C's. And I thought, well, shit, why are you so strict about grades in general if in the end it's not going to matter if I have a bad grade? But then she said, well, the point is that I don't want to normalize you underperforming or being a bad performer. And consider that grades are a form of an evaluation. We got to figure out what it is that's making you not achieve good grades. Is it a lack of commitment, lack of attention, lack of comprehension, lack of a skill? That's the way that teachers try to find out where your struggles are at so that we can begin to work on it. It's sort of like a log. And then I thought, well, but a log for what? What is the point? So yeah, that is one of those things that I wish we were encouraged. I'm not saying, yeah, go out there and be a failure, fuck up at everything that you do, but at least for us to learn to not be hard on ourselves, it would be useful to be told that it's okay to not be perfect and to not get everything right. It's part of the learning process. And I feel like everybody who is in the same boat as myself, we all learned this because once we went out there into the real world, we figured that the stuff that used to stress us out and we used to obsess over ultimately doesn't really matter as much as we thought. And it's sad when you learn it that late into the game. It's refreshing to see that this is something being addressed. That you need talent to be good at something. Many skilled musicians, actors, writers, and sports players say it is not just about talent but hard work and dedication. The right ingredients to become a great football player are first, the talent. Without that, you can't do much. Then talent is useless without hard work. Nothing falls from the skies. And I agree with that because I kept telling myself, wow, I'm new at this job and I kind of suck at it, but I always knew that when I focus on something, when I start honing my skills at something, I get pretty darn good at stuff. And then here I am, just being at the top of my game when it comes to customer service. And I also think that I have a right to feel a little down about the fact that I was never invested in for gymnastics and or music, because I know that had I been allowed to train on the piano, I would be amazing at it. And had I been invested in for, say, gymnastics as a sport, there is no telling where the fuck I would be right now. Because I can focus, I can really tolerate discomfort, pain, I'm a good waiter, I am good at repeating things, I don't mind repetition, practice. I'm very good to train and teach. I just haven't had the chance to. I'm very glad to see that this is helping some people with what could potentially lead to inferiority complexes, because a lot of people just feel like, oh my God, I wanted to be a singer, but I can't sing when I'm driving. And I'm like, whoa, but have you trained your voice for that? I remember how heavy my voice used to be until I started doing exercises vocally that helped free up my voice range. I can't believe that I can pretty much scream as if I were a child now. I remember when that side of my vocal range just became blocked after I grew up, and it is possible for you to get that back. You just have to train it and practice it. You cannot expect to just want to be able to scream, but your voice is like dormant in that range. I've had to tell my kids this. You need to be friends with everyone. Oh. I've had to tell my kids this, like when kids in their class don't ever want to play with them, not everyone wants to be your friend, and that's okay. Teaching children the importance of healthy boundaries and choosing the right friends for themselves sets them up for good relationships with their peers. It is okay not to be best friends with someone, but still treat them respectfully and kindly. At the same time, teach children tolerance and acceptance of others who may have different backgrounds or beliefs. Let them know that it's okay to disagree with someone as long as they do it peacefully. This is so freaking true, because I know so many people who are obsessed with acknowledging and being tight with everybody they run into in their day. And I keep telling them that realistically, that is not a very good thing to do, because there are people who are going to be incompatible with your personality, and you have to be able to set up boundaries. The moment that you don't have boundaries, that's when the bad starts finding you. And at that point, you don't have a right to complain that bad things are happening to you. Now, don't be like me and take boundaries to an extreme, because when you set up extreme boundaries, then nothing good has the opportunity to come in either. It's one of those things that you just have to be aware that it's a thing. I find people who tend to adapt very well to social situations, but then when someone does something fucked up to them, they're all shocked that I had no idea that this person turned out the way they did, and all I did was be nice and kind to them. How did you not read the symptoms? How were you not able to pick up on that about the person? Usually the person will drop hints that you are not necessarily meant to be tight. You're feeling like you're tight with this person in your head simply because they acknowledged you. Maybe you shared a couple of laughs with them. That doesn't mean that you're just automatically friends. For me to call someone a friend, it takes a lot. And there is a lot of people I talk to in my daily life as if I have known them for a long time and spend enough time with them and everything, and we chat for a while. But there's people who I know them, but I wouldn't necessarily call them my friend, like friend. For me, it's like off the top of my head, I can think of 4 people I can genuinely use the F word on, the friend word on. And outside of that, it's like, okay, I have acquaintances. We get along, we have fun, so on and so forth. But are you legit my friend? You would be surprised to find out. And I would expect for someone to think the same of me. It's like, yeah, Zam, I know you. We hang out. We have a good time together, but I'm not sure that you're really my friend yet. And that is supposed to be what you say to me, because you getting to be someone's friend should be a privilege that you have to earn. But I feel like people just want to arrive somewhere, exchange a few words with someone, and boom, that's it. Like, no, experience something with someone that would stamp your connection with them, that would give it meaning. The whole part of tolerance is something that needs to be taught. And I think that a lot of people who go around looking and sounding crazy to us is simply people who feel like they are entitled to everybody. You're not entitled to everybody. I'm fucking amazing. And I know that I'm not entitled to be getting along with and being tight with everyone I encounter. You need to accept an apology. This one makes me so mad. It is never truly resolved if you force a child to accept an apology. The underlying issue is still there. They said, I am a 3rd grade teacher. My students know I won't force an apology. Instead, I speak to the students about their choices and how they made others feel. I have found that once students realize what they did, they do apologize on their own, and the other student does accept it because they know the apology is sincere. When I was a kid, that shit always pissed me off because I was forced to say sorry for things that I wasn't necessarily sorry for because I didn't understand what the offense was. All I understood was, okay, I said something, little Johnny started crying, and then I was told, apologize to him. And I'm like, why? No, I'm not going to apologize to him. And then I was the one getting punished. And I never understood why. When I got older and stuff like that began to happen and I was pulled aside and told, hey, Zam, so what you said, it actually made so-and-so feel this type of way. I would be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. That's not what I meant. I'm going to go over there immediately and resolve it if the person is willing to hear me out. Because that's another thing. I have to consider that someone who just got offended by me, I may not be the person they wish to see right now. And that's fine. But if you're just telling me, you need to go over there and say sorry, fuck that. One time I had a manager tell me to say sorry to another manager that got offended because I made a comment about how I think that officially she looks strong, a strong person who can deal with her problems. The comment I said was, you got this, girl. You got big hands. I know you're strong. And then she decided to take that to one of her managers and be like, well, what Zam was saying made it sound like I was a bully and I'm violent. And I'm like, bitch, you're the one who goes around saying, oh, is that guy messing with you? Do you want me to beat him up? Was literally trying to take something that you have said about yourself and amplify it because that's your character, that's your persona. But now, all of a sudden, you're trying to say that you feel offended that I took that, said what I said. You're so dumb, you're stupid. How are you like 12 years older than me? And that's how you feel, and that's how you act, and that's what you do. And then on top of that, I was even more mad at that stupid manager who was telling me that I need to go over there and apologize to that person for what I said. I was like, I went to that person who got offended and I was like, so I'm told that what I said made you feel some type of way. I'm sorry. But It wasn't my most honest apology, but I know that I never mean any harm when I say something. If that's what it takes to have peace, sure. And this was one of those managers who was actually a complete bully to me. Did I go around complaining every single day when she treated me like shit? No. So, what about her? When is she going to apologize to me and the rest of my squad for how fucked up she treats us? See what I mean? If you are not free from sin, you're not allowed to throw the first stone. Shut up. Made me mad when you're expected to apologize for something that doesn't warrant an apology. Learn to not be a pussy. That's all you gotta do. Don't cry. To push down their feelings and never cry. You don't heal unless you work through your emotions. Support them. Don't scold. Oh my God, I wish that I would have had someone in my life be this way. I didn't get the support that I needed with my emotions until maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. This was me. I was the don't cry person. And it wasn't until I started embracing my feelings that I thought, you know what? Even though I'm suffering, I feel better when I let it overcome me than when I try to suppress it. And maybe that's why I am the way that I am and I became an expert at dealing with it. And I think that having the channel was the thing that helped me open the door to do that. I wanted to look at myself, listen to myself, feel confident about myself, indulge in myself, because I always felt like I didn't have a right to do that. It cost me dearly. And to this day, I'm still paying the price for that, but at least I can say that I have seen better days. Were you raised with the boys don't cry generation? Let them know that it is healthy to talk about their feelings, even if they think those feelings are negative. Try to support them through difficult times and remind them that crying does not make them weak or less of a person. Instead, it can be a sign of strength. And I know what they mean about it being a sign of because usually as soon as I expressed myself, it's like a load was freed off my back and I was able to actually start enjoying life again. It's like when I indulge in negativity and just suppress it, it's almost like that's the only thing that I have going for me. I let it define me. But once I express my emotions, it serves as a way for me to let go. I just cannot find something that I can say can compete with the feeling that gives. I before E except after C. One person wrote, I before E except after C. This rule has so many exceptions that it should not be considered a rule. Should we really be teaching children this rule? The truth is that there are so many exceptions to this expression that it fails completely. Exactly. I really hate. This reminds me of that thing that I'm not sure if I have made a topic about this yet, but have you guys ever heard me say something like, I am a absolutist? I never hang out in the gray area. It's either we commit to this rule, we commit to this policy and nothing can change it, or we don't have the rule, we don't have a policy to commit to, therefore we don't enforce it. I hate people who hang out in the gray area. Nobody deserves to hang out in the gray area, not have definitive response to something. If he's mean to you, he likes you. I tell my daughter, it doesn't matter if he likes you. If he's not kind, he's not worth your time. No one deserves to be treated poorly, no matter how much someone may like them. Encourage children to cultivate friendships with people who treat them with respect and dignity, as those are the people who will truly be there for them. See, this one, I know what it means, especially in an intimate setting, but I'm the kind of person who, when you first meet me, I'll be absolutely protocol driven. Respect, manners, politeness, but I have that clown side to me, that silly side to me, that it involves a degree of roasting people. And the reason I do that is because if you can survive my roasts and you too roast me, that makes me feel like eventually when a serious problem emerges, when a serious discussion needs to be had, you can count on me not getting offended. You don't have to beat around the bush to tell me something. You don't have to rehearse how you're going to talk to me in a manner that's going to be conducive to learning or problem resolution. If you start getting grilled by me, even if it sounds or looks like it's disrespectful, me trolling someone It's the way that I communicate that I'm fine with you telling me things exactly as they are. Not everybody has the privilege to do that with me, but once you get to know me, I would expect that you know that when I start teasing you like that, it's because I want to be that person you can come to tell them anything, and you know that you can count on them not being affected. Personally, I have had experiences in which I had a friend that was like, oh my God, you can tell me anything and I will never ever leave you or feel some type of way. Just feel free to tell me whatever. And what do? You're actually telling them whatever. And eventually you realize that no, they were not serious when you heard them say, you can tell me whatever, because here they are being fucking offended. I have never done that to someone. To me, that's where I show respect and dignity. When we're out in public, I will never embarrass you. I will never disrespect you, so on and so forth. Behind closed doors, you'll see the best version of me, which is the one that's like teasing you, but once you get to know me, you know exactly what I'm trying to do. When I start teasing you, it's because there is a better version of you that in my eyes is available, but you're choosing to not display. Eventually, you end up doing the very thing that I was trolling you about, and I'm like, wait, hold up. You mean to tell me you actually listen to what I say? Wow! I know that doesn't work for everybody. It's not meant to work for everybody, but anyone who has known me for a long time, they know when I'm fulfilling a specific role that in disguise is actually good for you. But you have to be present to figure that about me. It doesn't make sense now. Maybe one day I'll be willing to share some of the stories and illustrate my point. But just know that being disrespected must never be tolerated, but being teased can also serve as a way for you to become confident about something. And the reason I say that is because I used to have a super low self-esteem, and then people began to tease me about the things that made me feel insecure. But eventually I started to listen to the people teasing me also being the people who granted me the most strength. And then I thought, you know what? This doesn't have to be my weakness. And that's when I stopped feeling inferiority complexes. That's what I'm trying to say. Never tolerate disrespect, never tolerate violence. But if someone is being a little rough with you, maybe they are the leader that you need so that you can finally learn to overcome something that's hindering you. That's what I'm saying. Ignore the bullies. Will bullies go away just by ignoring them? Apparently not. As a former teacher, it does nothing to address the issue. The bullying persists 100% of the time. Well, in my experience, some of the bullies I ended up ignoring, and they realized that what they were doing did not affect me, and that used to make them mad. And eventually, my perseverance at ignoring them to the point that they questioned their existence is, I believe, what made them stop, because they realized that they weren't getting a reaction out of me, they weren't getting anything from me, so they just stopped. But I do understand that if you have a bully that's more of a physical kind of bully, then that does need addressing. But outside of that, I always did my part to let teachers know that I was being bullied, and my mom for the only one that became really severe. But outside of that, I can recognize when the type of bully I'm dealing with is the kind of bully that's the attention hungry bully. And if you ignore them, they definitely fuck off. Teaching children to confide in a parent or teacher they trust when they feel bullied may be the best way to deal with the situation. I'm disappointed, though, that this article ends that segment right there and doesn't say, now, if you are the teacher or the parent that the victim is confiding in, this is how you go about the situation. Because I'm an adult. A child can come to me and tell me about a bully they have all that they want, but I don't fucking know what to do about a bully. I'll tell them what I did. I'm like, well, I talked to a teacher back in the day. I don't know what the fuck they did because I never saw that side of it, but I just talked to them. I don't know what's going to happen to your bully, but in the meantime, I ignored them so that I didn't fuel them at the very least. But I wouldn't know what to do. Please is the magic word. Just because you say please doesn't mean you get what you want. Similarly, just because you say sorry doesn't mean you are instantly off the hook. I'm sorry doesn't erase a wrong, and it's only one small part of an apology, which the wrong party is not obligated to accept. Please is definitely a word that helps when you say it, but I think that it matters how you say it. If it's something that you say because it's kind of an automatic response, then we can hear how disingenuous you're being. If you use the word please when it's adequate, it does have a positive effect. Now, just because you're saying please doesn't mean that we owe you whatever you're requesting, but I think that it's important to still teach the word please as a form of politeness. It is important. Post-recording Zam here, it turns out that there is another article that had even more examples. I'm liking those extras, so I'm going to kind of breeze through them so that this can be like a fuller topic. For instance, adults are always right. No, we are not always right. And I actually happen to have experiences in which I definitely argued with some adults, and I'm glad, because when I was younger, there was an adult who tried pressuring me into things that were very obviously wrong, and thanks to that, I was able to keep myself safe. No, adults are not always right. As another example, one time there was a time that my mom was driving and she didn't notice something on the road that I noticed, and because she trusted me and took a look at it, we were able to avoid an accident. And she's the driver, she's the adult. So what would I have known that that is a threat? But had I not said something, that threat would not have been acknowledged, and who knows what would have happened. To not ask questions. This is one of my favorite things because I, to this day, behave like I'm in a classroom. If you know me well, you know that every single day I have a question to ask. And even though some of my questions may be pretty dumb and innocent, that is my way of me absorbing information that in the future there's no telling how it's going to be relevant for me or how it's going to help me. But I just know that asking questions is the way that people understand each other. It's the way that we understand things, learn things, and can possibly plan for better things. So yeah, ask questions. Be curious. I think that one of the ways to live life to the fullest is to be curious. Why do you travel? You travel because you want experience. You want to try new things. Well, asking questions is a way to try something. It's just intellectually. And sometimes I think that people don't like to be asked questions because you're half-assing through whatever it is that you're doing, that when you start getting questions, it goes to show how ignorant you are, and people associate ignorance negatively, and I don't understand why. There are no consequences. This is true. You guys know it. You go online and you see the crazy shit that people are doing, the stunts people are performing, expect to be able to get away with it and no consequences, and that is extremely harmful and detrimental. So yes, you do have to teach kids that there are consequences. They mentioned again, if he's mean to you, he likes you. Now, when it comes to romantic settings, if I like somebody, you will know because I will be abnormally nice to you. I'm the opposite. They do not need to show affection. I hate when people force their kid to hug me by. My husband's side of the family sometimes pressures our nephew into hugs, but I'm always saying no, it's okay if he doesn't. I'm so glad that they say that because your personal physical boundaries need to be fucking respected. I, as a kid, grew up being expected to reciprocate affection, and I hated that shit. I will never forget that I kept telling myself, one day I will be all grown up and I will be able to tell people to fuck off and stop touching me, especially kissing me when I don't want them to. Don't touch me, don't kiss me. You do not have permission. I will defend that one until the very end. You guys know my story about my meltdown that I had at self-checkout when I was running it. And I am very, very, very glad that the manager I spoke to immediately protected me and said, you have a right to your space and to feel the way that you feel. I can feel this particularly because I am the same way. And I cannot tell you the number of times that people have tried to fight with me, to encourage me to be okay with touching because they are okay with touching and they want to touch me. I have to be okay with that because it's affection and it's a positive thing. I don't care. If I say don't touch me, you just don't touch me, period. I don't care how much you like me or love me. I say don't touch me. It's don't touch me. I shouldn't have to explain why. You shouldn't have to ask why. Although it's good to ask questions, that's one of those things that you shouldn't question. Like if I say, don't touch me, it's you comply, you leave it at that. I shouldn't have to explain why I don't want you to touch me. You should have some common sense. Oh, maybe it's her space, it's her preference, or she's not comfortable. Use your goddamn common sense. You don't have to understand it, but you also don't need to try to convince me to change me not liking being touched. You're the gross person. Children, you don't like being touched, you don't want to touch somebody, you fucking enforce that. Their feelings and opinions don't matter. Fortunately, as a kid, I was taught otherwise. I was told that my feelings and opinions always matter, even if the results don't always conform with my feelings and wants and opinions. At least it's nice that I'm able to participate and that nonetheless I'm still being heard and considered. While they are special, they are no more special than anyone else. I agree. I remember I grew up being told all the time that I'm special, but fortunately I never took that too seriously, because if I were as special as I was led to believe, then I should be running the world right now. Clean your plate. Making kids continue to eat when they are full leads to eating disorders. It will at least make them fat. This is true, and I never thought about this until I got older and I noticed that, shit, I had some chub going on. And honestly, my family did not have any ill intent, but that is a habit that we had. I was always told, you need to clean your plate if you want to have playtime. And now that I think about it, I could not be expected. As an adult, I can draw this conclusion now, but as a kid, I was fed about as much as my brother was fed. First of all, he was 5 years older than me. And did you hear what I said? Guys need to eat more than girls. So you cannot expect for me to be able to eat at the same level that he was eating. But nobody was really considering that. Yeah, I don't have any eating disorders. I never will have them. I just could never get behind the being forced to clean my plate. I could understand it from the perspective of not wasting food. But how about if you serve me a portion that's sensible so that it doesn't lead to food being wasted? Yep, those were some of the extras. Good topic. What we should teach. These are just a few of the highly rated responses regarding what we should not be teaching children. Instead, focus on teaching them how to think critically, develop empathy, respect others, and become strong individuals. Only through these lessons will we create a better future for all. But how do you do that? That's the part that articles like this always disappoints me. Me asking, how do you do that, is an example of thinking critically. Developing empathy. Empathy in the modern day, I think it's a little bit of a hard thing to really practice because you get bombarded with so many thoughts and so many opinions and so many points of view. I, at the very least, try to understand a person, even if I cannot completely get behind their ways. At least I'm not going to try to make their existence difficult. Some people may have no idea that I absolutely do not agree with some of their ways, but I'm not going to make my identity be about how I have a dissent with you. When it comes to becoming strong individuals, I think that becoming mentally strong is as important as being physically strong. But try to have a purpose as to why you want to be strong. And the reason I say that is because there are some people who they might be strong, but they're dumb as a brick. or there are people who may be mentally strong, but they are not self-sufficient with certain things that they should be self-sufficient with as a mentally strong person. I wish that this article would have at least linked to what we should be teaching instead, or at least enumerate examples of what is it like to think critically? What is it like to develop empathy? What is it like to respect others? What is it like to become a strong individual? So I think that it is on the right path, but the path hasn't been fully paved yet. And honestly, respect, at the very least, know your place. I think if you know your place, respect is pretty easy to just give. But I think that these days we try to be so solo, independent, and rebellious that respect gets lost in the process. But we can save that for another time. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you soon.